Hi everyone, Sean back from the Sci-Fi Model Guy, and welcome to Chapter 2 and the final chapter of the NX-01 Refit. This is a 1000 scale model from Polar Lights, and it's about as big as my hand here. It's a pretty small model, but don't let the size fool you. There's a lot of detail in this, and it went together really, really well. The Aztec decals went on nicely, almost without a hitch. The paint looks good, the lights look good, and there's very few light leaks. And this is actually a tough model to build, you guys, because it's a snap-together model. It wasn't intended to be lit, so if you're going to light this one, you might want to make sure you have a little bit more skill level than the average, because it is tough to do, and there's a lot of light spots and a lot of light leaks, and I'm still not 100% with this. This is the third time I've built this model, and every time there's a little bit of a light leak, a little something. I'm getting rid of them as we go, but it is tough. It's a tough kit to light, but I'm happy with it, and I hope Admiral Teague is happy with it too. We're going to get that out to him. And speaking of Admiral Teague and the YouTube channel called Saving Star Trek, join us on Saturdays where we talk Star Trek. Right now, we are reviewing Star Trek Enterprise. We're in the third season here, and we're going to be winding up to go to TOS coming up in the fall. So I thought while we were still on Enterprise, I would get the NX-01 out there to Admiral Teague, who's been a really good host, and we have a lot of fun talking Star Trek. We have watch parties and stuff, so come out and check us out. I'm going to put the link in the description here below, so come in and have fun with us and chat it up. It's a good time. We talk about good old science fiction and good Star Trek. So anyway, Admiral Teague, hopefully you like this model here. We're going to get this out to you pretty soon. And for the next build, you guys, we are going to be building the USS Reliant. Look, she's still in her packaging. I've got Aztec decals for this. We're going to get this coming up pristine. Now, we're not doing the damaged version of the Reliant. We're going to do the clean version before all the shenanigans happen with Khan. And when we get done building this, we're going to send this one out to our friend Stark of Iron. You can go find Stark of Iron on YouTube as well. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. A lot of fun variety show type of stuff, games and things like that. So, Tony, my friend, you're getting this one, and Admiral Teague, my friend, you're getting the NX-01. So anyway, folks, that's it for the intro. I hope you have a really good week. Thank you for being patient with me, and hopefully we'll have some fun building the old Reliant. Take care, guys. See you down the road. Hey, everybody. Okay, we're back out here, and I'm going to just show you where we are. So it's about 4 or 5 days since we last recorded, and all of the lighting is installed. And here is the little assembly that we made there, and that's in there. Everything's wired up, looking pretty good. And we've got the lights, only 2 lights here for the upper part of the saucer section are just right here for these nav lights. Got a red and a green on here, a green here, red there, and that's a 3020. I was going to go with the 0805, but I ran out of them, so I went with the 3020, which is probably better. They're a little bit brighter, like we've talked about, and we've got another 3020 right here. Now, what I did have to do, and it might be kind of hard to see, is we had to cut a little bit of these pieces off. So right here is where the light is. Oh, there you go. I was out of the camera. Right here is where the light is, and so between this gap here, right here, is where some of this kind of side pieces were supposed to be. These are these little extensions that go in between the 2 parts of the saucer to fill the gap. So in order to get these lights in there, I did have to cut off this section. So this was supposed to go all the way over here. Now that means there's going to be a significant gap there. So we're going to have to fill that with some styrene pieces and some CA glue, and be careful and just fill that gap, and so we don't get this enormous light leak or hole in the hull. Shouldn't be that much of a problem. Okay, over here, back here toward the back, we've got 2 1.5 millimeter LEDs or SMDs. Sorry, I always forget which they are. And there's one right here and one right here. Now it's very icky and stuff in here, and that's just because of some black paint and light blocking, but these lights are illuminating these little thruster or the impulse engine exhausts. Now I'm going to have to come back over here and repaint this blue and get that nice, but it does light up pretty well. Okay, had to edit that real quick. I have, if you can't hear, I've got a pretty bad cold going on, really nasty summer cold, and I've been sneezing a lot, and you might hear it in my voice. Okay, now let's talk about the nacelles. Here is one that is all complete, and I'll light that up for you in just a second. Now, with the refit, again, we were supposed to have the little needles on the end. I opted not to do those. I don't like them. And there is a side piece here that in the regular NX-01, this is empty and it's got the blue chiller grill, but the refit has this thing covered, and it looks like I pushed down a little bit too far right there. I might have to fill that with some putty or see if I can't pry it up. I might have to just live with it. I don't think there's a light leak actually though, but you can kind of see there's a little gap right there. These are pretty difficult to get in there, you guys. Even if I wasn't lighting this kit, these are real tiny pieces with a lot of little intricacies inside, and so it's a bear, but you can do it. And these do well with putty, so if you have to putty up, then that's fine. But this one's all complete. Now I'm going to show you what the other one looks like, which I haven't put together, so we can talk about it. Okay, so here's the outside of the nacelle, just like we showed you on the other one. This is the filled part. Now, once I realized that this had that part there, and I didn't have to light this side, it really let me put the what's it called, the strip there facing outward, and that's going to be better. Gets a little bit better illumination. I didn't have to jam the LED strip inside anything and have it all weird, and that's fine. But you may notice I did trim this down. You can see there that this piece has been trimmed down significantly. If I can get a regular piece here, I'll show you the difference. So you can see there, I cut off a little bit from the sides, and I did test it, let this light stay on for quite a while, and it was fine, so I didn't ruin anything. So if you're going to do this, just make sure you thoroughly test it and be very careful not to get too close to the lights. But this is probably the limit of what you can trim it down. Sorry about the focusing there. So that did work, and it is illuminating the blue part of the chiller grill. And then, of course, we've got the three, forgive me, we've got the three flickering SMDs there, the warm white, the regular white, and I think it was a yellow I think we've got in there. So there those are, and those are propped up on a tiny piece of sprue that you can see there, just so that they're right in the middle of the nacelle. Okay, so let's take the camera down, and we'll show you what this nacelle looks like as it's illuminated. So, okay, we're all set up here for a little lighting display, and I do have to apologize here for my stuttering words and everything, everybody. I'm still kind of out of it, and my voice is off and all that stuff, so I apologize. Anyway, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and there we are. So you'll see here is the blue part. Now, on the camera, you're going to see these three really bright white spots. And to be fair, to the naked eye, I can see these bright spots too. If I turn it, you can see it more when the little strut thing or that thing in the middle gets out of the way. So maybe I could have diffused this a little bit more. Maybe I could have put the lights in a little bit different orientation or something like that. But, you know, this is so small. And overall, when I've lit this before, even though you can kind of see these things, it still overall looks pretty cool. I'm not looking for, you know, screen accurate. I'm not looking for this to be perfect. Again, this is a very tiny model, so with all the details that we have going on, I think this is just a minor thing. Some people out there may have come up with a better solution. No, Jody over at TrekMod sent me something about putting light inside a sprue and kind of illuminating the sprue from either end, kind of like maybe a fiber optic. That would probably work too. I just opted with the little strip of 3. I wanted it to be a little bit more simple. So maybe next time I'll try that. And then over here in the front, this of course is my favorite part. Look at that, you guys. It's really flickering, really nice. It's giving that simulated spinning effect of the multicolors, and that looks really good. Now, we did paint the Bussard collector red, so that's why we get these nice variations of red and orange and yellow, and various variations of intensity of its pulsing, and it looks really good. and very, very little light leak. You can see a tiny one there on the camera. To the naked eye, you can barely see it. I'm zoomed in very far. Again, I mean, look at this is the size of a fingernail. So I'm not worried about a tiny light leak thinner than my fingernail is, you know. So there we go. So the nacelle looks really cool, I think. And again, to the naked eye, it's not as blatant as these bright spots here on this camera as you're seeing. But she looks really good. So we're going to put the other nacelle together here, and then we will talk about getting that mounted onto the ship. So give me 1 second here. Let's take the power connector off. Turn off the power supply. And we'll talk very quickly about what we're going to do here. So the trick for this is that we have to kind of mount these nacelles on here first, get the wires down through here and get everything tied up in here, and then we can put the top on. So you can see here, you know, we've got to get both wires down there and get this on, then that glues and everything. So all the wiring kind of has to be done here, fed through, and we get that in. So I'm not going to record that, but you can see here, you can hopefully imagine that it's going to be a bit of a challenge. You know, we're gonna kind of place these nacelles on here. I'm not going to glue them on until I get the top piece on. Then I'll kind of mess with the wires and get them in there, and then we'll glue it down and hope for the best. So anyway, that is it. I think the next video, the next section here is probably just going to be the final reveal. Like I said, this is a pretty short series here, just two, and really not much to show aside from what I've already shown you with the lighting. Here, I'll show you this real quick again. For the secondary hull, we've got these two strips. That's going to illuminate the top part of the engineering section really nicely, which is right here. And we're going to put in the windows, of course, with the solar res and all that. And then we're just going to put the matte coat and the decals. I did get the Aztec decals that came in, and that decal set actually does have the set for the refit version, which I'm very happy. I think we talked about that before, that I was going to check into that. So thankfully it does have the set. So we're going to Aztec this whole thing, get it looking really nice with the nice bright green and red here on the side, and nice holes drilled, windows, and it's going to be a really nice little model here to give to Admiralty. So hey everyone, okay, so we are looking at the ship, and it's pretty much how we saw it last time, but I wanted to film a little segment here to show you all the putty work that we've done, or as much as I can show you. So believe it or not, this little ship does require quite a bit of putty work. This is the third one, I think, that I've lit. Yes, the third one that I've lit, and each time it has required quite a bit of putty, and even though it's, you know, not much bigger than my hand, it does require a lot of work. So wanted to talk a little bit first about this section here. So you can see here there is a gap. This has been filled with some styrene little pieces of sprue and some glue. There's a piece here that's supposed to go on the side to fill this little gap. Whatever I did inside the nacelle, or maybe the way I was orientating it or something, it just wasn't fitting. So there's this big gap there. So I had to put some styrene, you know, in there, little pieces of sprue and bits of plastic. And then I covered it with CA glue, and we're going to go ahead and paint over that in a minute here. Other places we have to put a lot of putty here. For some reason here on these pylons where they go up, let's see if we can get that to focus. You can see this is the third one I've done. There's always this gap in here, and on the other side as well, right there. Had to put quite a bit of putty here on the warp engines there, and just some various spots along the saucer. Now, just keep in mind, guys, this is a snap together kit. It is not intended to be lit. So when you put the wires in there and you do everything, and you want this really light blocked and sealed, it really wasn't meant to carry light. So you do have to do quite a bit of putty and glue and all that kind of stuff. There is some glue in here, even though it's generally a snap together kit. Again, because we have to make the ship a little more bulky, especially in the nacelles and stuff like that, where things don't just fit together as neatly as they would if you were just painting it and snapping it together. let's see. We did go ahead and put some putty along the seam lines here on the nacelles on the top and bottom. You can kind of see the white there. Still going to have to go through and paint this. And the cool thing is since this is all one color, at least right now, all I have to do is cover the Bussard collectors here, and I can give it another spray of the silver that we do. This is mica silver. That's the coat that I did, and then when we put the matte coat on there, it'll darken it. And then, of course, we have the Aztecs. Let's see. There's another gap here. Here's another little gap that we were talking about. Now, this one here is a lot smaller than this side. I don't know what happened, but when I put this on the nacelles, this one here was really tilted up like that, and I didn't like it. So I had to kind of unsnap it, unglue it, and then reposition this thing to get so that these chiller grills bracket things here were parallel to each other like that. This one was kind of twisted up. Can't explain why it happened, it just did. But when I fixed the orientation, it created a bigger gap over here. So that's why we had to do that. That's going to fill in really nice. I might just put a little bit of black paint on it before I paint it. I'm going to do the paint tomorrow and let this putty dry here. Let's see. In the impulse engines here, which I've painted with a metallic blue for the lighting, in here is some putty, or not, I'm sorry, not putty, liquid mask. I've put some liquid mask into these little recessed areas of the impulse engines, and it's just this Vallejo liquid mask. And what I've done is I've taken that and put that into one of these little bottles here, and that really allows me to put the mask in a very fine space right here. So this is really something that I love doing. I've recommended it before, so if you've seen the channel before when I've had to use some liquid mask, I put it in this little disposable bottle, and this little needle allows really fine precision application of this liquid mask, which is a good tip there. So let's see, what else we got to do? I do have to go ahead and fill in here. So we did talk about that in the last section, I believe, where this is the navigation light. So I had to cut a piece of this little center section out, and we're going to have to fill this in. So again, I'm going to use some sprue for that, little pieces of styrene, just little scrap things laying around, and we'll get that filled in. I do have some from this model. We'll grab it. Just these little things right here. You know, just the sprues, the little pieces where they have the numbers on there. They're nice and flat. These are good candidates to get in there. You can cut little pieces out at a time and just kind of fill the hole. And then what little gap has remained, you can use putty. So you fill the little hole with little bits of styrene and CA glue, get that in there, and then putty over after. And then, of course, we'll make sure to not put any paint on this light here. I don't want any light coming out the side, but that'll be interesting. Probably just going to do the styrene, CA glue, and then put some black on the outside just to light block that part. And then we'll be good to go to repaint the silver in here just along the edges and where we put the putty. But she's looking really good so far. And we got the secondary hole over there, and that will be easy to put in and light and everything, and shouldn't be too much of a problem at all. But while we're here, let's do a little bit of a lighting test. We'll try to get this set up for you to see how she looks lit up, and it looks pretty good. Okay, here we go. And there's a light. I'll turn off this set of lights over here so you can see it. It's looking really sharp here, you guys. It's so cool. The green and the red here on the navigations really pop. I don't think I had done these on other builds, but I finally figured out how to do it. The Bussard collectors are really nice. To the naked eye, these are nice and subtle. They're not bright like you see them. I know I keep saying that in all these videos, but the camera picks it up a lot brighter than you see it. And hopefully you can see this flickering and movement around. If you're looking for that, the best place to look is here on the hull. You can see the kind of flickering result of the little lights, the flickering and pulsating lights we put in there. There's the nacelles lit up nice and blue. So she's looking really good. There are the impulse engines there. We still have to do a little bit of putty work here in the back, I can see. There's a little light leak there. And yeah, I'm going to just put putty. And over here are some I think these are like secondary thrusters or something. It's a clear plastic, so I'm going to allow this to stay lit there, and there's some nice light coming through there. So once we get everything done, this ship is really going to look sharp, you guys. And it's just too bad we couldn't get a circuit board in there for the flashing lights, but there's just not enough room to do for all that stuff in this such a small kit. But she's looking pretty sharp, and I can't wait to see what she looks like with the final refit, everything on there and illuminated. I've got the stand over here. Here's the stand that I've made for this. We'll zoom out some. And it's just a simple little kind of 8x8 or so square box. There's a hole there for the switch and a hole back here. I did decide to go ahead and do this with a power supply instead of a battery, so we'll enclose everything in here. This was from, I think I got this at Michael's. It's for $8.49, and I put some wood conditioner on it and then a coat of dark cherry wood stain. So I'm going to put another coat of the wood stain on in the morning, let that dry, and then we'll do 2 coats of the glossy polyurethane, and that will look really sharp. So expect to see that at the end of this video. So yeah, just a little bit of a preview here, but stand by for the rest of the reveal, guys. All right, everyone, here she is. The NX-01 refit is complete. She's on the base. Everything is all done and ready to ship out. So we'll go through a little bit of this before we turn on the lights. Not too much to say. I will say one thing here is, I know in the beginning of the build, I talked about covering up this rounded part and getting rid of this little deflector array because there's one already on the ship on the engineering hull. But it proved to be probably not a good idea to do it, so I didn't even try. For one, I think the look of it would have been a little bit weird. It would have been hard to get the circle curve really well and fill that and everything. And so that would have been a challenge just to get it to look right. But the second part of that is it would have required some pretty vigorous sanding and some work. And this is a small model, you guys, and there's really not much glue on in here except for a few parts where we talked about in the last section, I think, where we had to put some glue where the saucer meets this section here. So if you're going to light it, you're going to have to use a little bit of glue to get rid of light leaks. But it's kind of a delicate ship. These nacelles don't really... I did have to glue the nacelles on, even though they snap, but we had to do a little bit of work to get the wiring done in there. So, it's just a very delicate model. It's not very sturdy. So I didn't want to even mess with trying to get that down. So I do apologize if anyone was looking forward to the way that looked. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit here about some of the details that we did. I'll zoom in. And I kind of took my liberty. I didn't look at the instructions on the different colors on the specific details of this. I just used a lot of dark copper just to fill some of these things. That's really the only other color I used. So we have a mica silver or a gloss aluminum on here. I did end up having to use go and get a Tester's silver spray. Usually I use Tamiya, but I'd ran out of the mica silver, so I used the Tester's silver to give it a final once over, and it was really bright and shiny. And but when we put the Duplicolor matte wheel painting, it toned it down a little bit, took away that glossy look, which I didn't like. And then of course putting the Aztec decals on and covering it with another coat of matte finish, it really got rid of that shiny metallic look, which I wasn't really going for. But it really turned out well. So you can see here the Aztec decals really formed nicely. This set from Polar Lights is good. Now I will say, if you're going to get that set, you have to soak those decals for a good 30 seconds. I actually did have to use a little bowl, and I'll just show you this real quick. So it's just this bowl here with some water in there. I did end up having to use that because these they're very thick decals on that Polar Light set. Now the decals that come with the kit, you just spray them with a little bit of water and they slide right off. So be careful with those if you're going to be doing this kit. They come right off, and you don't want to soak those because they will just float off. There's a lot of small decals in there. But the Aztec decals cover the ship really nicely, and as long as you follow the guide, you should have no problem. It actually took me a couple of days to put all the decals on, believe it or not. There are about 100 of them on this little model. So but it's worth the time. Like I always say with decals, They're nice and they're fun to put on because the ship really starts coming together, but you have to be patient, and I advise taking several breaks in between. Try not to do too much at once. Do one top of the ship, get it down with the techniques that are comfortable to you and that work. Use a little damp towel and you squeeze out all the moisture and everything. Do not rush, and then maybe come back the next day and hit it again. And then also with this one, I do recommend using the microsol. I didn't use microset with it, the vinegary smelling one. I just used microsol after, and I just brushed it over the entire ship with a nice soft brush I have. This is kind of a long wispy brush. It's behind the cardboard here. I can't pull it out, but it's a nice soft gentle brush, and I just kind of slathered it all over here, let it dry, and then turned it over and did the other side as well. And that really made these things hug all of the nooks and crannies. So for some of the panel lines in here, especially here toward the bow, I did take an X-Acto knife and just slice through on some of these longer panel lines just to make sure I didn't have any air bubbles and avoid any silvering in the future. But for the most part, these Aztec decals are in sections, and you don't have to really worry about the panel lines so much. And they really get in there and do well. There are a couple of small decals that just will not stick. For instance, in the back here, there's a weird kind of a black decal that's supposed to fit in this area, and every time I've ever tried to do this ship, that decal is just too big, so I end up not using it. If you can get it to work, you would probably have to put the decal on before you assemble the ship, and I don't like doing that, so I just took that off. Anyway, yeah, just did a little bit of copper here, these little thruster things or whatever those are. Some things, this kind of looks like a secondary bridge or something back here. Some of the little spots on the ship are little copper. The warp nacelles right here. Let's zoom out so you can see that. There you go. Right here, get a little bit of copper going on. And underneath the ship, if I can, I'll get the camera underneath, and you can see there's a little bit of details going on there. And anyway, so why don't we go ahead and turn it on, huh? So I've got this nice 8x8 wood display case. This is actually like a shadow box. I just took the hanger thing off of it and built a bottom for it. So we're going to turn it on. There we go. And let's turn off the lights here so you can really get a good look. And we'll take the camera off. Okay, here we go, folks. Now I just took the camera off and took the microphone plug out so we can kind of cruise around the ship and take a look at it. She turned out really nice. I'm super happy with the way she looks. Not really any light leaks worth mentioning. There were a couple here that in the few times I built the ship, they're right here. You can see a little bit of a sliver. These nacelles are just kind of like that. I haven't not figured out yet how to completely get rid of them. Sometimes I get a little bit of a light leak here. You can kind of see that on the camera. I barely see it with the naked eye, and I could probably blob a little bit of paint on there and get rid of that. I've got a little bit of a light spot here. I'll go over that with some silver. I haven't really looked this over without the lights on in the shop. So, but again, with this camera, it does pick up light spots and light leaks a lot more brightly than you see with the naked eye. But I'll get some silver paint there. Let's turn in the front. So there's the a second deflector array. I do kind of like the blue glow that it provides. Maybe it's just a phaser or something like that, or a radio antenna. I don't know, subspace, something like that. But we've got the main deflector down here. We've got the nice sensor dome underneath. And we'll just turn that around a little bit. Now, one of these nacelles here, I think we talked about it in the last section. I did have to kind of put some styrene in there. I think it's on the other side. Let's see if we can flip it around. There we go. Yeah, it's like right up in here. I had to kind of cover it, so it looks a little bit goofy there. I don't know what happened, but you can barely see it. If I hadn't pointed it out, probably wouldn't even notice it. So we'll go swing up. So there's that light spot again above the thruster. I didn't really notice that before. We'll get rid of that with some silver paint. But look at that glow, you guys. That red glow from the Bussard collectors. You can see the shimmering effect that it's having on the hull, and it's looking really sharp. The nacelles look really good. I do like Jody's suggestion that he sent me. It's getting like you get a piece of clear sprue and light one end of it, and it kind of glows up like, I think of like a lightsaber. But these turned out pretty good. These are just 3 LED lights, one little set of 3 that's in there lighting the nacelles, and there's plenty. Here we go with the impulse engines in the back. You can see some light spots there. This is kind of a challenge that I've had. This is the 3rd time I've lit this model, and each time I've done it, this has been hard, really hard to get right. So this one probably turned out better than the other 2 that I've done, but there's still, you know, you can see, let's zoom in here. You can still see it's a little bit wobbly with the lighting and with the little light spots coming out. But all in all, I'm happy with it. I'm not going to mess around with it too much more. Let's go see here. Yes, here's one part that we did have to fill in. So right here on the side of the hull, you can see it looks a little different than the rest of the ship. This part here has little grooves in it, and then right here is a solid piece. This is something I had to fill in. So in order to get the green lights in there, I had to cut the pieces that are supposed to go in here. So it was just this blank hole, and then so I had to put the lights in and then fill it back in later with little bits of styrene and CA glue and everything, and sand it down. I think it looks pretty good. Probably could get by with fiber optics if I used lights for the fiber optic for the lights here, and I could have still put those little pieces on, but I only have one set of fiber optic wire, and I'm still not good with it. Not only that, there really is so little room to work in here. Look at my big paw here, and you think all these lights are in here. You've got the green and the red here going on. You've got wires coming from the thruster assembly and the nacelles all kind of conjoining in here and then going down, so that you really don't get very much room to work with in here. And I just didn't want to try to mess with fiber optics. One day I'll get really good at it. Let's do a little beauty shot here. Looks really good. So we'll do a shot underneath. That's a cool shot. And then maybe something like from a beauty shot there underneath. Just kind of cruising around here. Let's take a look here at the base. Now again, it's an 8x8 piece of wood. It's like a shadow box. I think it's like 1.5 inch base there, and I just cut a custom bottom for it there, and so all of the switches and everything are in there, and the AC adapter plugs in back here. So anyway, that's about it. I'm going to do one more shot here. I'm going to go turn off all the lights in here, so we'll just let this thing illuminate on its own, and we'll see what she looks like. So I'll be right back. All right, folks, here she is. This is complete self-illumination, and we'll just pan around here a little bit more. Maybe we can get a thumbnail picture here. There's a nice shot underneath. It would be nice one day to get some blinking lights on this. Maybe that if I do the ship again, I'll try to get some blinking strobes on there. But for now, there's the Bussard collectors. You can really see them flickering here in this low light, and hopefully Admiral Teague will like this and have it, you know, light up his room, and you could go on some adventures before going to sleep, you know. And anyway, I really enjoy doing these things. So anyway, you guys, the next one will be coming up. The next model kit will be coming soon. I have decided which one I'm going to do, and hopefully I remember to say that in the intro to the video, so you should hopefully know what it's going to be. Anyway, that's it for now, everybody. Thanks again for your attention. Drop a like, a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff in there, and we'll see you down the road, folks. Take care.